It's 2022, and somehow the Incredible Hulk might be the most underrated Avenger in terms of strength in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. How did they let this happen? Well, I think it has a lot to do with Hulk being the measuring stick that Thanos' strength was measured against. Thor was demolished by the Mad Titan off-screen before the movie started, so when things seemed their most dire, the Hulk came in to save the day, and, well, he wasn't prepared for an opponent so powerful, who also had thousands of years of experience in Titan's Ultimate Fighting Championship. This combined with the fact that Hulk never got his revenge or iconic moment during Infinity War or Endgame, at least compared to his contemporaries. Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, Scarlet Witch, Thor, and even Captain America all got their shining moments against Thanos, but the Hulk was left out, left on the sidelines. In today's video, I'm going to break down the Jade Giant's strength, durability, and other skills and abilities to determine just how powerful the strongest Avenger truly is. But before we get into the power scaling, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Private Internet Access VPN. 30 million is the number of people that are currently protected by one of the leading VPN companies in the world, Private Internet Access VPN. The internet is a weird place. You never know who might be interested in your browsing history or your private information. Private Internet Access VPN keeps you safe through, remarkably, transparency. It is one of the only open source VPN providers out there, making sure that you know that you're protected and they aren't recording anything that you do online. Instead, they are simply keeping your data out of the prying eyes of whoever might want to take a look. It works with all of the major streaming providers, so you can watch the full global unrestricted library of content on your favorite streaming platforms. This VPN is also one of the few that works with person-to-person sharing sites, which are great for creators like us. Private Internet Access VPN also blocks ads and malicious websites. It's available on all major platforms and can protect up to 10 devices on a single subscription. For our subscribers using our personalized link, you can get an 82% discount on Private Internet Access VPN. That's just $2.11 a month and 3 months for free. So head to privateinternetaccess.com/key issues or check the link in the description and get protected today. Of course, in the early days of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I don't think it was ever really in doubt that the Hulk was the most powerful Avenger. After all, Emil Blonsky wasn't satisfied with the power granted to him by the Super Soldier Serum and wanted to be more powerful like the Hulk. The Hulk was able to make Thor bleed in their first confrontation. The Hulk is also stated to be far more powerful than other gods such as Loki.
It's an impressive cage. Not built, I think, for me.
Built for something a lot stronger than you.
Oh, I've heard. A mindless beast. Makes play he's still a man.
And we saw what happened when Hulk got his hands on Loki, and by the time of Age of Ultron, the only thing capable of stopping him was the Hulkbuster, which in reality couldn't even do that. Hulk was tearing apart Veronica, while Iron Man struggled to come up with ways to stop the Hulk's rampage, exhausting all of his options, and let's be clear here, Iron Man would not have been able to stop the Hulk had the Hulk not come to his senses. Despite being enraged by the Scarlet Witch, Hulk was eventually able to see the destruction he was causing, which calmed him down a bit. We all know that the angrier the Hulk is, the stronger he becomes. His anger was growing exponentially and would have ultimately reached a point where no other being on the planet at the time would have been able to stop him. As detailed in the Wakanda Files, the Hulk shares Bruce Banner's moral code, so the destruction and pain he was causing during his rampage in Johannesburg forced him to reassess the situation, calm down a bit, which weakened him and allowed Iron Man to knock the Hulk out. At this time, Hulk was considered more powerful than Thor. According to Joss Whedon, the writer and director of Age of Ultron, nobody was capable of fighting the Hulk at this time other than Tony and the Hulkbuster.
I have Hulkbuster because nobody is capable of fighting the Hulk, and except Tony, and the idea that Banner himself had a hand in devising this.
This probably also had something to do with Thor being incapacitated at the time, but they made the Hulkbuster for a reason. If Thor could easily stop the Hulk, there'd be no reason to design the armor in the first place. Additionally, there are multiple statements showing us that Hulk was considered the most powerful being on the planet during this time. Not to mention, Bruce himself was integral in the design of the Hulkbuster, but not even the combined intelligence and ingenuity of Tony Stark and Bruce Banner could formulate a decent defense against a rampaging Hulk. So with all that in mind, Thor was able to destroy Sokovia with the assistance of Iron Man, which with updated calculations comes out to 163.4 gigatons of TNT, or enough energy to destroy a small island. The Hulk would be more powerful than this, and I haven't even mentioned yet that the Hulkbuster is even more powerful than the Iron Man Mark 50, which could stagger Thanos and even cut the Mad Titan. If left unchecked, a Hulk rampage would likely force the Eternals out of retirement to deal with him, and even then, I'm not even sure how well they would fare. As mentioned previously, when the Hulk continues to become angrier, his strength increases at a similar rate. In an interview detailing the capabilities of the Hulkbuster, we learn that if the Hulk is unable to calm down, he could reach the point of planet busting.
Wanda has basically entered Banner's mind and created a Hulk out of control. And so this is exactly what the Veronica technology was developed for, to encapsulate him so that he doesn't destroy the planet.
To support this idea a bit more, the upper limits of the Hulk's strength have never even been tested, and I think this is clear when we take a look at his time on Sakaar.
Hulk, stop! Just for once in your life, don't smash! Big monster!
Hulk was the beloved champion of Sakaar. His fan base was rabid and loyal. His popularity brought money to the Grand Master hand over fist, and it would be in his best interest to ensure that his cash cow remained champion. So he was fed opponents that he could either easily beat, or if he was ever in trouble, the Grand Master always had an ace up his sleeve. He could instantly incapacitate any opponent who made his champion look weak. So how much was he actually tested? How many times had the Grand Master interfered on the Hulk's behalf? Well, I think he probably did so quite frequently. I believe this because it's stated that he smashed through the galaxy's strongest beings. However, the author of Marvel Studios' Character Encyclopedia tells us that the Hulk grew stronger on Sakaar, but not by much, meaning he couldn't have truly been tested by the galaxy's strongest beings, because anytime his victories seemed to be in question, the Grand Master would step in. Which brings us to his fight with the mighty Thor during the events of Ragnarok. During the director's commentary, Taika Waititi states that his intention was to show that Hulk and Thor were equally strong as each other at this point. However, he goes on to say that in Thor's awakened form, which he briefly tapped into towards the tail end of their battle, gives him a slight edge. So Hulk barely grew any stronger. Meanwhile, Thor had been battling across the 9 realms while the Hulk was away and tapped into his awakened form, but all this still only led to Thor barely edging out the Hulk. But even despite this statement, I think it would be pretty difficult for the Hulk to become truly enraged against Thor. Sure, he was upset with Thor, but he still loved him as a friend, and after knocking the defenseless Thor out, Hulk refused to kill him, which was the standard after a victory won in the arena. So the Grandmaster had to come up with an excuse that Hulk wanted to keep Thor as a trophy. Again, without becoming fully enraged and never testing his upper limits by the time of Infinity War, I think it's safe to say that if he became angry enough, Hulk would wipe the floor with Thor. So following the destruction of Asgard, Thanos arrived. But despite him wielding the Power Stone and having just defeated Thor easily off-screen, Loki was still convinced that Hulk could take on the Mad Titan. Of course, Loki was wrong, but it still goes to show that he should be above the level of Thor at this point. And here's where we see the Hulk take a loss unlike any we'd ever seen from the Green Goliath in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. While he is able to barrel over Thanos and lay some decent hits onto him, the gap in skill surprised the Hulk, who at this point had mixed feelings about being the Avengers' trump card in the first place. And when Thanos started taking it to the Hulk, he didn't become angry, he became scared and confused. He was actually being hurt significantly. So the Hulk retreated into the recesses of Banner's psyche, where he remained for the duration of Thanos' invasion. And just to be clear, no, Thanos did not use the Power Stone in his fight with either Hulk or Thor.
And here you see the early establishment of just how fearsome Thanos is, even without, he's got one stone here, but I don't think he's using it.
He's not using it. Right. This is to show that Thanos, the Genghis Khan of the universe, is unbeatable in one-on-one battle. He's conquered thousands of worlds. He's much more polished fighter than the Hulk, and he dismantles the Hulk fairly quickly.
After some time, Bruce Banner and the Hulk worked together and formed a single identity, Smart Hulk, where Bruce is in control mentally, but the strength of the Hulk is always at his disposal. During this time, the Avengers worked together to gather the Infinity Stones and created a nanotech gauntlet with which they planned to return those lost to the snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity! While Thor offered to don the gauntlet, the Hulk stepped in, as the energy emitting from the gauntlet was mostly gamma, and his body is uniquely built to absorb gamma radiation. While wielding the gauntlet brought Hulk to his knees, his body was absorbing the latent energy of the Infinity Stones. When activated, each one of them is capable of destroying a planet individually, but when combined, they could tear apart the entire universe. The resting power of the stones was enough to, quote, light up a continent. Of course, this isn't a literal statement of powering an entire continent. The gauntlet contains much more energy than that, and it resting should far surpass the amount of energy needed to power a continent. The Space Stone is stated multiple times to be able to provide limitless energy just by itself. So Iron Man is using a turn of phrase, which you may have heard in various action movies. Light 'em up is typically said before an explosive is detonated or something similar. So to light something up means to destroy, not to power.
Light 'em up! Light 'em up.
Tony Stark, being one to reference pop culture frequently, would be using it in this way, not literally, which again would make no sense. With this in mind, I think we can safely assume by this point that the Hulk can tank the amount of energy it would take to destroy a continent, which would be at minimum 760 teratons. Even if the Hulk was absorbing a portion of this energy in the form of gamma radiation, wouldn't this make the Hulk stronger after the fact? It does so in the comics, so there's a precedent for this argument. Although within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we'd have to see a quantifiable increase post-Endgame to really make the case, which still remains to be seen, but it's an interesting thought nonetheless. While Hulk never got his shining moment against the Mad Titan, he's still worth seriously considering when you're discussing who the strongest Avenger is. So now that we've discussed the Hulk's strength, I'd like to go into his other abilities, which I think are pretty often overlooked. Hulk is pretty skilled. I think most people dismiss the Hulk as a no-skill, brainless rage machine. That's really not the case. He does retain some of Bruce's knowledge when in the Savage Hulk form. So Bruce trained in the martial arts for years, and the Hulk himself isn't unskilled. Remember that Abomination isn't another personality or individual like the Hulk. He's a super roided out version of Emil Blonsky, and Emil was the British forces' most skilled and decorated soldier. He's extremely skilled in the martial arts, and Hulk was in there sort of boxing up Abomination. Not to mention, he could fight evenly with Thor, who was the greatest warrior on Asgard other than his father. Even when Thor lost his godlike powers, he still retained his skill, and according to Phil Coulson, he was able to beat up S.H.I.E.L.D. agents who are the most highly trained agents in the world, and he believed that Thor had extensive hand-to-hand combat training overseas. Not only did he beat these guys down, he completely embarrassed them, which just goes to show how skilled Thanos was. Hulk was never unskilled, he just ran into the greatest warrior in the universe. Additionally, the Hulk was also pretty intelligent. He was able to prevent multiple deaths by using his thunderclap, he escaped the Hulkbuster containment unit by burrowing underground, and he could even pilot a Quinjet. As for other abilities, Hulk has an impressive healing factor, made even more impressive after using his cousin's blood to heal his arm. He is completely unaffected by toxins and the Hulkbuster's sleeping gas. He's immune to every disease known to man. He can of course absorb gamma radiation and has some limited mind hacks resistance. While the Scarlet Witch was able to enrage the Hulk, he was able to shake it off for some time and come to his senses very briefly. So that's all I've got for the Hulk today. I hope you guys were able to realize just how powerful the Hulk is, despite him not getting those iconic moments, which is just baffling. I think it's sort of a misstep in the MCU. The Hulk has always been considered the most powerful character in Marvel Comics, at least in the mainstream, so not giving him these iconic and powerful moments time after time against powerful characters is sort of a bummer. I mean, he had the great moment punching the Leviathan Avengers, but he's never really had that beat 'em up moment against a very powerful and very intimidating villain. He's always been fighting against the other heroes, and when he got the chance to fight against that powerful villain, he was absolutely embarrassed. But that was done for a specific reason, to show how impressive Thanos was by defeating the Hulk on screen so easily. So the Hulk should not be underestimated. Let me know if you guys learned something down in the comments. Also, let me know what your favorite moment from the Hulk in the MCU is, and let me know who you'd like to see a power scaling video on next time. Thanks again for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. It does really help us out. And remember the motto, it's the Incredible Hulk over everything, and I'll see you guys next time.